Hello, fellow modelers. Bruce here. As some of you may recall, a couple weeks ago I had bought a 66-year-old kit from Model Hobbies out of New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, and it had two structures in it. And I had already built the first structure, which is this inspector shanty. And it was a fun little build, and now I decided that I should build the second structure, which is this yard office. Now, I may or may not use it as a yard office, but again, a very simple kit. 4 walls, peaked roof. Turns out that the window openings are already cut into the walls, so all I had to do was file them a little bit, get rid of the roughness. As always, I use a combination of modeling tools to do that. These little nail files are fairly easy to cut to narrower widths to get into windows and so forth. And that's what I used, except for the very smallest windows I had to use metal file. So they're ready. The doors were pre-cut, just needed some sanding, and got some braces for inside the 4 corners, and we have some anglewood corner trim for on the outside, some 1/32 square wood, fractional lumber for window trim and door trim, and this wood, which is I think a 32nd by 3/16, is for these benches that you see one on either side of the structure, which I may or may not build. Could use regular benches, plastic benches. The windows are printed, the mullions and so forth are printed on acetate. I used them on that inspector shanty, and I think I will use them on this as well. They ended up looking pretty good. And so that's the structure. What I'm going to do, this is the subroofs here. And again, they provided sandpaper for the roofing. I will not use that. I'll decide later whether to make it a slate roof, a shingle roof, a tar paper roof, or whatever. But time to get this one out of the box and ready for use on the layout. So talk to you again soon when I'm beginning more work. Okay, another quick update on this Model Hobbies yard office that I'm working on. I gave the walls a rattle can spray of a hunter green. The doors they provided are the plywood with some grooves in it that actually are nicely colored, so I'm going to leave them just the way they are. Drilled 2 holes for the doorknobs, which I think you can see, and I decided I'm going to go with the windows that they provided, which were, if you recall, printed on acetate like so, and I'm going to use them. They get trimmed with some 1/32 by 1/32 wood on the outside, which I painted a dark brown. The angle corners that will go on once I've glued the walls together are also a dark brown, so the colors will work rather nicely together. And what I've done so far is started bracing the inside. There was a tendency for these 2 longer walls to curve this way, so these 3 1/4 by 1/4 pieces of wood are holding it nicely in place. The end walls, I've put the supports that will support the roof beams the way I've shown you. I always do these. They really have 2 purposes. One is to help prevent warping, and the other is to support those roof beams. And I just want to quickly show you how I do something very similar to provide a way of gluing in the floor. the kit did not include any flooring, so I looked in my scrap box and I found this piece of basswood from another kit left over, and I have it cut to length but not to width yet, and I think it's a 1/16 of an inch thick. Yeah, 1/16 of an inch thick. And so I'm going to use that as the floor. Putting a floor on, I mean, I can see why back in the day they didn't do it. People would put it on their layout and never see whether there's a floor or not. But I really prefer to put a floor on that helps for gluing surface when you do want to put it on the layout, and also gives the structure more stability and helps keep it nice and square. So what I do is pretty much do what I did when we worked on those braces at the top of the end wall. Let me zoom out just a little bit so you can, I can make sure that I'm not moving out of your sight here. So I am going to take a piece of this 3/32 square strip wood and put some glue on one edge. And I'm going to put this down near the floor, centered on the wall left to right, because I need to leave room for these heavy corner braces when I glue the walls together. So I don't want to get in the way of those. And now what I do to make sure I have it glued where I want it, so there's room for the floor to be glued on the bottom side of that. Let me just get rid of some of the excess glue here. So I will get an angle block. This is my 1/16 of an inch thick flooring material, and I will squeeze that between the angle block and this gluing surface slash wall brace that I'm gluing at the bottom. So now I know that the amount of room here left between this brace and the bottom is just enough for me to be able to put the floor in and then glue the floor to the structure. So I'm going to do that on all four sides, and that'll be the end of the bracing for inside. Then it's time to put on the glazing and the trim on the outside, and then I'll start gluing the walls together, and I'll come back when I'm doing that. All right, talk to you soon. Well, time for another update. As you can see, I have my two L's constructed. The interior bracing, as we talked about. You can see the heavy piece in the corner, and on the outside the angle that really does help secure the whole thing, plus it's the trim. So yeah, we got two of those fixed up. You can see the glazing is in place. On the outside I have put the trim on around the windows and doors, and put the doorknob on. And let's see, what else have I done since I saw? Oh, I cut the wood for the flooring now to the right size, so you can see fits nicely in there. And to test fit whether the other L fits in perfectly, it does. So what I will do is now glue the floor to one of the L's, and then start gluing the two L's together. What I do is come to this long end here and glue it and its floor. Put some glue down there, and then I can still pry this open enough to get glue on this one here, and finish up gluing them all together. So it'll come together very rapidly now. The doorknobs, you know, it's hard to get HO scale doorknobs that look right. So I've kind of standardized now in using a very thin wire brad. This is a 1/2 inch long by 19 gauge, and cut the head off of it. I've drilled the hole, as I showed you earlier, the correct size. A little bit undersized, fits in, put a little dab of super glue on the back, and it looks okay. It's probably still over scale, but it looks pretty good. So that's it. Glue these together with the floor glued in place, and then come back and start putting my roof supports in, my roof beams, probably 3 on each side. Then cardboard subroof, which I will line off, and I'll probably use Campbell shingles on this. We'll see. And that's it. So very quickly now, when I come back, probably just quick to show you the 4 walls together and the roof beams in place. And that'll almost be it. Okay, talk to you soon. Alrighty, time for a last update before I finish this little structure up. If you recall in the beginning, when I first showed you this kit, I mentioned that I might leave those benches off and just put some plastic casting benches there. Thinking about it, this is such a simple structure, and that is kind of one of the distinguishing features of it. So I decided to build those benches the way the kit had suggested. So there's the bench on this side and a similar bench here, but on this back one I decided to model it as if somebody cut a couple of logs down to size and use that as the supports on the bench. Just put a 10-foot board across them and made a bench out of it. So this kit now is ready for the roof. You can see I have my typical roof beams in place. I've lined out the roof for some shingles, colored the portions that might be seen on an overhang with a magic marker, and I'm ready to add the shingles, glue them on, put on the smoke jack, and at that point the model will be done. So the next time I come back, you'll see the completed model. All right, talk to you then. So here we are, the 66-year-old model by Model Hobbies out of New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. Supposed to be a yard office. We'll see what I make it into. The only change is the roofing material. Instead of using the sandpaper that they provided, I used some laser cut shingles and made up into a nice model. So here's a manufacturer that if you run across some of their kits, yeah, I think I would take a gamble and get them. Here's the pair of them that came in the box. The yard office and the inspector's shanty. That's a repurposed boxcar. So 2 nice kits, sat in a box for 66 years before I finally became the owner and built them. So that's it for this video. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have not done so, please subscribe to my channel. Okay, take care.